Hi there, this is the Falco. So in today's video I'm going to be looking at the aftermath of the Newcastle United game. Obviously hugely disappointed in the result, and plenty obviously to get into in terms of the performance and the players and all that kind of stuff. So let's not beat about the bush, let's dive straight in. Looking at it overall, you'd say that Tottenham had some pretty good statistics today. Dominating possession, chance creation, lots of kind of long distance, long range shooting, kind of application of pressure, but I don't feel that there was high quality chance creation, which is definitely something I think we need to do better. But overall, you'd say that kind of performance, you'd be pretty disappointed if you went away from home, played like that, and played across the 90 minutes as well. It wasn't like the Leicester game where we really lost it for 10-15 minutes. We lost this game in moments. And yeah, I just think that overall speaking, you go away, you perform like that, you would expect more times than not to come away with points. Certainly a draw, if not a lot better, I think is what we were hoping for. But sadly, that's not the case, and there's a few key reasons for that, in my opinion. Just looking across the team, I think at the beginning of the game, I still have question marks over Vicario. I've said from the very beginning, I really like Vic, but I'm concerned by his footwork, and that's maybe something I'll look at in another video in a little bit more detail, but it does concern me, and I still think he gets bullied from set pieces, and that happened early on. Luckily we didn't concede from it, and we did okay when it came to set pieces today, which is something that couldn't be said for last season, so maybe we are taking steps forward. It will take time as well. Across the back line, the high point, Radu had a really good game, and in fact, really showed that he's no slouch. He can open his legs, he can get back. He did brilliantly against Isaac early on, and in fact played pretty well all game long. There are some people that might think that he could have held the line a little bit better for Newcastle's second goal, but I don't think the fault is his. I think once Joelinton is turned and he's got comfortable possession, he's got that much space. For me, Radu's moving in the right direction, which we can't say for Romero, and we'll come to that in a sec. I think Udogie in the back line I'm concerned about. He looks very far away from match sharpness. That was particularly shown later on when he was trying to run back for the second goal, and he's given it everything he's got, and he can't keep up with a player who's got ball at their feet, and he's putting so much into it, and he's so tired that he actually kind of like falls over himself as he's running at the end, so he's clearly not match fit. He also conceded possession just prior to the goal in a really promising position in between the lines, with a really heavy touch. So again, these things kind of speak to him not being match fit and match ready. Porro did Porro things, some very good. He's clearly a very exciting and a very good attacking player, but again he lacks defensive radar for me, particularly in a team that's going to play the way that we're playing. I think at times he doesn't smell the danger, that kind of thing that people often talk about. Nothing directly his fault today, but certainly his positioning sometimes leaves a lot to be desired. And I'm not talking about situations where he's found himself 60 yards up the pitch and then he's running to get back. So overall, he did quite well. He had some good shots from the edge of the box, and he's clearly an excellent technician, great striker of the ball. And yeah, probably disappointed not to put one slightly closer on target or make Pope do a bit more work than tipping one over the bar. I think across the midfield, we did okay. The balance felt a bit better in the second half. And again, Brennan Johnson has lots of detractors, but I think he did really well when he came on. Certainly he won possession a couple of times really nicely, which was good to see. But I think in the final moment, his decision making, his pass selection still could do with a bit of work. And obviously he had a good chance where, again, beautiful in the lead up to it, a lovely touch to bring the ball inside the defender, which the defender wasn't expecting at all. So he's completely taken out the defender with a lovely little touch from a deflected shot from the edge of the box, and then does, for me, the right thing, goes to guide it with his left foot, tries to guide it in and around into the second post, but just doesn't get it right, doesn't get the technique right. So some really, really good stuff, and I see him coming in for lots of criticism, and I think it's pretty unfair. I think he actually did quite well. We saw today from Odebear that youth is going to come with inconsistent performances, and Odebear today he had a few good moments, a few bright moments, a nice effort early on. He blazed just wide and over, but again, a little bit of that final pass selection, some decision making in terms of going inside, going outside, and he was able to either be shepherded out by defenders or crowded out. So yeah, that will come. He's a young player, and I think he will improve. I think going into the game, I thought the Newcastle were going to be quite pragmatic, as they have been under Eddie Howe against us. They will look to switch the ball. They will play long. They are going to defend, sit in deep or mid blocks and try and counter-attack us, which is kryptonite to us, as they've shown. And today was no different, but we actually did really well in terms of nullifying that. I thought we had so much of the game that actually they didn't have much opportunity to do the big switch. They did a little bit of it early on. You have seen some switching from right to left across to Barnes or whoever's playing on the left hand side, and that yielded a few occasions where they stretched us and they were able to do something with it. But we actually did quite well in terms of keeping them out. But on the other side of things, when you have that kind of dominance, as I said before, I would expect a higher level of percentage chance creation, whether you want to talk about XG or not, and how subjective that is. I still feel that a lot of our pressure ended up with shots from the edge of the box. There were balls flashed across, but there was no one coming in. There wasn't that number 9 run, the central run, and then the second post run as well. In certain circumstances, there was neither of those two happening. So balls were being flashed across, and either only one player or no players were going, and there weren't the right decisions for cutbacks, which is a little bit of that decision making that we're talking about. I think that overall we're going to go away from that pretty disappointed not to have picked up any points. Obviously it's painful losing a game like that, where you dominate so much of the game and you walk away with nothing. But there are signs that we will, or we have the potential to click. We have the potential to put teams away. We have the potential to get ahead and stay ahead. But what is being shown at the minute is that when games are tight, and at Premier League level, we've seen this particularly for us at Tottenham, when games are tight, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. You could play against any one of the, the kind of bottom quarter of the table teams, or certainly the top teams. And if that game is tight, everyone's got a chance. Everyone's got a free kick or a set piece or a counter attack or a break in them. So tight games, we've shown that we're incapable of seeing over the line. That's not really what we do. We've not got to that point. And today, defensively, the 2 goals that we conceded were really, really concerning, because they were sloppy and they weren't out and out errors, but they were the kind of thing that I said this in a tweet earlier. If I was working with younger players, we'd be in the video room looking at this all week long and then working it on the pitch. In terms of decision making, at times I'm not convinced by Kuti going screaming up the pitch, trying to harry the ball early on, but then roll it on a couple of phases, and it ends up with Biss being dragged a little bit deeper in terms of running for that ball that gets cut back behind the defenders, and Ashley Barnes is on his own, kind of P spot. That shouldn't happen. It wasn't a counter attack per se. It was a quick set piece, and we were sloppy and we fell asleep. And Madders is not the player that you want, kind of scrabbling and trying to win the ball, and that happened twice. But we still should have done better. Again, I'm not laying this wholly at Romero's feet. It's those defensive instincts. It's when you're looking back across the line, you've got 4 players across the line, maybe only one Newcastle player, Isaac, attacking. You don't need a line of 4 or 5 players. You need players to start staggering and to be looking over their shoulder for cutbacks as well. You've got to expect, 3, at the very least, 3 different kinds of ball coming across, which is a ball across the front, a ball coming back, and then a chipped or a lofted ball. And I don't think our players do that. I don't think our players have the speed of thought or the defensive capability to think like that, and that's very disappointing. And the second goal is an absolute outrage in terms of top level professionals, World Cup winners, and international footballers. Maddison doesn't cover himself in glory, but Joelinton is a very strong player and he's a good technical player. Even just seeing Maddison go for Joelinton, I, as any one of the players standing behind that phase, would have waited. I would have not assumed he's going to win it. You would wait, you would see how that plays out, and then you'll make your decisions on what you do next. We didn't do that. We were either sleeping in the best case scenario, and it's not a good scenario, or we were just negligent. We just made really bad decisions, assuming that Maddison's going to nick it and get away. And then Joelinton has a good 30-yard stretch of space. Biss is pinned because he's got a player just to his left-hand side, I believe it is. And then there's 2 very, very easy balls off his right foot, so he doesn't even have to loft the ball. He can play this across the grass. There's a huge passing lane in front of him, and he can play this in. Udogie can't do very much. He's on the wrong side because he actually does have possibly Gordon or Barnes out wide on him, and then Romero, for whatever reason, sees Joelinton get turned, get his head up, and he's still moving forwards. And he's in his own half, he's over the halfway line into his own half, and he's still moving forwards. And that to me is, I know some of the basics and the percentage stuff, it sounds all very old-fashioned, very 1980s football, but there's a reason some of these things are foundational, and he should not have been moving forward at that point. He should already be on the turn, and that's why I don't put so much of the blame on Dragushin's plate, because I feel that he sees the play and he's on his bike because he's thinking, right, this ball is going and I need to be on my bike to get there. So I've not got a problem with that. The coaching staff at Spurs might see it differently to me. But yeah, really, really disappointing. Such an easy ball, therefore, to play and getting in, and Udogie's not fit and he can't get back. Romero again, like his recovery line, I don't like it. That's not where I would have a player running. It's not what I would want. I would probably be, and this might be going into it too much, but I would probably be calling for him and Dragushin to try and cross over. So obviously Dragushin's way ahead of him. He's a good 5 yards ahead of him once they start running. And yeah, I'd want him maybe to come over and firefight, and then Romero to tuck in. But anyway, regardless, it all comes from bad decisions. And massive wide open spaces, and it's really naive and it's really disappointing where you've played that well for an entire game, and those are the moments. And we didn't make it comfortable, we didn't make it an easy afternoon for Newcastle, but we should not be conceding that goal. So that's really disappointing. And as I said, the last thing is we've got to improve our percentage chance creation. The stuff that we were creating, lots of pressure, lots of possession, it's good, it's edgy, it's why Burns sticks the ball in his own net because of that build-up of pressure, and that's great. But I want to see a little bit more of that high percentage chance creation from our team, where we really are peppering or sticking the ball in the net, really. That's what I want to see from our team. So I don't think we're a million miles away. I do think we will click attacking wise, I do think we'll put a lot of teams away, and I do think that we might be able to paper over some of the defensive stuff by putting teams away or getting away to good starts or getting leads. But I think there's a huge amount of work to do in terms of how we defend as a team and as individuals across the season. There's so much onus on players to be perfect defensively when you play that high risk and attacking game. So from what we saw last season and from what we're starting to see this season, some of our best players are the ones who are not doing that, and Romero at the minute is in that for me. And it's not the young players, so we can say anything we like about, well, we brought in young players who don't improve us and don't move the needle, but actually there's some basic stuff which I feel has cost us points. I think potentially cost us 2 against Leicester, and it's cost us, well, maybe if not 1, if not 3, then 1 today against Newcastle. So I really want to see some better stuff from that perspective. I'd also maybe liked a slightly earlier sub in terms of Berryvale coming on. I would like to see him, and then those final 10-15 minutes, I think we looked tired. We lacked a bit of urgency. Lolo didn't come on and do particularly well. I was hoping he'd really thread things and be a bit of a metronome in there and keep the ball moving. I think Kuti held onto the ball for too long at times, and Berryvale coming in to really deep positions where he's not going to affect the game at that point. So as ever, plenty to work on, plenty of things. It hurts, so I'm a bit on the negative side this evening, and I'm sure a lot of fans are feeling that way as well. I'm trying to look at it as analytically as I can. It's really hard as a fan. But yeah, maybe there'll be more stuff that comes to me in the week and feel slightly more positive. But anyway, it's been a long old rant, so I'll leave it there. Thankfully, easy game coming up next after the international break, so should be solid 3 points. All right, cheers everyone. Try and enjoy the rest of your weekend.